Someone is hiding the truth. Someone is protecting a killer. And the man everyone believes is guilty may have arrived just moments too late. For weeks, Coronation Street fans have been told to look at Corrie Windass. The evidence seems damning. The suspicion keeps growing. And now a shocking flashback appears to place him directly at the scene of Theo Silverton's murder. A dead body. A weapon. A terrified suspect. On the surface, the mystery looks solved. But viewers aren't buying it. In fact, many fans now believe the latest revelation proves something completely different. Corrie didn't kill Theo. He witnessed the aftermath. And if one increasingly popular theory is correct, the real killer may have escaped long before anyone realized what happened. Because the more fans examine that flashback, the more they become convinced that someone else is lurking in the shadows of this story. Someone whose name barely featured in the investigation. Someone who may have been hiding in plain sight all along. Miles. And if that's true, everything viewers think they know about Theo's death could be wrong. The mystery surrounding Theo's murder has haunted Weatherfield for months. Ever since Betsy Swain made that horrifying discovery, questions have multiplied. Why was Theo killed? Who wanted him dead? And perhaps most importantly, who had the opportunity? At first, there seemed to be no shortage of suspects. Theo had spent months creating enemies. His abusive behavior had left emotional destruction wherever he went. People feared him. People hated him. People wanted him gone. And that made identifying his killer almost impossible. Because when someone spends months hurting those around them, motives become easy to find. But answers remain frustratingly difficult. Then came the flash-forward episodes. The dramatic scenes that first teased the mystery. Viewers were transported months into the future. Police investigations had already begun. Questions were already being asked. And Betsy was already reliving the terrifying moment she found a dead body. At the time, nobody knew whose body it was. Nobody knew which villain would die. Nobody knew which secrets would eventually explode. But one thing was obvious. Something devastating was coming. And when Theo was eventually revealed as the victim, the investigation immediately intensified. Yet instead of bringing clarity, every new episode seemed to make the mystery more confusing. New suspects emerged. New evidence appeared. And every revelation created even more uncertainty. Then things became even more complicated. Summer Spellman was suddenly charged with murder. The evidence appeared convincing. Police felt confident. Viewers began wondering whether the mystery had already been solved. But something didn't feel right. Too many questions remained unanswered. Too many loose ends remained unexplained. And then Tyrone Dobbs changed everything. Burdened by guilt, he finally admitted he had lied. A confession that completely altered the course of the investigation. Almost overnight, Summer's future changed. The case against her began falling apart. And once again, police were forced back to square one. The killer was still out there. The truth was still hidden. And suspicion began shifting elsewhere. Straight toward Corrie Windass. For Detective Kit Green, Corrie became the perfect target. The more Kit looked, the more suspicious Corrie seemed. His behavior was erratic. His answers were evasive. His anxiety was obvious. And most importantly, he appeared to be hiding something. Kit became convinced. Corrie knew more than he was saying. Perhaps much more. But while Kit saw guilt, fans saw something entirely different. Fear. Not the fear of a murderer. The fear of someone trapped inside a dangerous secret. A secret that keeps getting bigger. A secret that threatens to destroy everyone connected to it. And that's where the real mystery begins. Because during the latest visit to Weatherfield, Corrie found himself surrounded by reminders of Theo's death. Conversations turned uncomfortable. Questions became unavoidable. And every mention of the murder seemed to make him increasingly uneasy. Even Maria started noticing something wasn't right. As she watched Corrie and Sarah Platt interacting, suspicion began creeping into her mind. Could they be having an affair? Why were they acting so strangely? Why did their connection suddenly feel different? To Maria, the explanation seemed obvious. Romance. Betrayal. Secrets. But fans think she may be looking in completely the wrong direction. Because what if Corrie and Sarah aren't connected by love? What if they're connected by murder? Not because either one committed the crime, but because both know what really happened. And both are terrified of the consequences. Then came the scene that has completely transformed the investigation. The flashback. The moment viewers had been waiting for. The moment many believed would finally expose THEO'S killer. Instead, it created an entirely new mystery. As the flashback unfolded, Gary appeared high on the scaffolding. In his hands was a heavy mallet. Below him lay THEO'S lifeless body. The image was shocking, explosive, almost impossible to ignore. For a moment it looked like confirmation. A weapon. A corpse. A suspect. Case closed. Except fans immediately noticed something strange. Gary's face. His expression wasn't one of victory. It wasn't one of anger. And it certainly wasn't one of satisfaction. It was shock. Pure shock. The kind of reaction someone has when they discover something horrifying. The kind of reaction someone has when events spiral beyond their control. And suddenly viewers began asking a different question. What if Gary arrived after the murder? What if somebody else got there first? What if Gary isn't hiding his crime, but somebody else's? That's when one fan theory suddenly exploded across social media. And the details are chilling. According to the theory, Gary heard a disturbance coming from THEO and Todd's flat. An argument. A struggle. Perhaps even signs that THEO was attacking Todd. Knowing THEO'S violent history, Gary reacted instinctively. He grabbed a mallet from his yard. Then raced toward the flat. Ready for confrontation. Ready for violence. Ready to protect someone. But by the time he arrived, it was already over. THEO was already dead. And that's where everything changes. Because according to this theory, the person responsible wasn't Gary at all. It was Miles. A name that has largely escaped suspicion. A name barely mentioned compared to the show's bigger suspects. Yet fans now believe he may hold the key to everything. The theory suggests Miles killed THEO during the confrontation and fled before anyone could stop him. No witnesses. No police. No consequences. Just escape. Then things become even more intriguing. Because fans believe Miles didn't disappear alone. They think somebody encountered him immediately afterwards. Danielle Silverton. And if that's true, it could explain another mystery that has been puzzling viewers for weeks. Danielle's behavior. Her secrecy. Her involvement in events surrounding THEO'S death. According to the theory, Miles confessed everything. Maybe out of panic. Maybe out of fear. Maybe because he trusted her. And from that moment forward, Danielle became trapped. Forced to choose between the truth and protecting someone she loved. If she chose protection, everything suddenly makes sense. Her silence. Her fear. Her reluctance to reveal what she knows. Because every lie would have one purpose. Protecting Miles. But that's only the beginning. Because if Gary arrived moments later and witnessed the aftermath, his nightmare was only just beginning. Imagine standing over a dead body. Holding a potential weapon. Knowing exactly how guilty you look. Knowing nobody will believe your story. Knowing the evidence points directly at you. For Gary, that situation would be catastrophic. And fans believe that's exactly what happened. Suddenly every strange decision starts making sense. His panic. His secrecy. His conversations with Sarah. His fear whenever Kit gets too close. Not because he's guilty. Because he's trapped. A witness caught in circumstances he cannot explain. A man carrying knowledge dangerous enough to destroy multiple lives. And perhaps a man trying to protect people from a truth he believes would cause even greater devastation. Then one detail changes everything. If this theory is correct, Gary isn't protecting himself. He's protecting others. Danielle. Miles. Possibly Sarah. Perhaps even Todd. The web of lies keeps growing. And every lie creates another problem. Another risk. Another secret. The longer the truth remains hidden, the more dangerous it becomes. Because Detective Kit Green isn't giving up. Not even close. Every day he gets closer. Every day he asks new questions. Every day the walls begin closing in. And eventually somebody will make a mistake. Eventually somebody will say too much. Eventually somebody will crack under the pressure. The question is who? Will it be Gary? Will it be Sarah? Will it be Danielle? Or will Miles finally emerge from the shadows where fans believe he's been hiding all along? For now nobody knows. But if one thing is becoming clear, it's this. The flashback wasn't designed to reveal the killer. It was designed to mislead viewers. To point suspicion in one direction while the real truth hides somewhere else. Gary may have been standing above Theo's body. Gary may have been holding a mallet. Gary may look guilty. But sometimes the most obvious answer is the wrong one. And if Coronation Street fans have solved this mystery correctly, the real killer walked away long before Betsy ever discovered Theo's body. A hidden confrontation. A secret confession. A terrified witness. A mother protecting her son. And a dangerous truth buried beneath months of lies. But if the latest theory is right, that truth cannot stay hidden forever. Because sooner or later, somebody will reveal what really happened on that scaffolding. And when the final pieces of the puzzle finally fall into place, Weatherfield could discover that Gary Windass was never the killer at all. He was simply the first person unlucky enough to see the horrifying truth. And when that truth finally comes to light, the real murderer may be the last person anyone expected.